And welcome to the Davenport Coaches Show, coming to you live from Uccello's in Caledonia. I'm Rick Berkey. We've got special guests lined up for you tonight. We're going to start out with offensive coordinator Devin Russell. He'll join us in the first segment. Coach Sparky McEwen getting an off week. We'll finish up later with defensive coordinator A.J. McEwen. And I guess so this will be a well-coordinated broadcast for everything except the host will be coordinated here tonight. In between, we've also got a very special guest. Women's volleyball coach Brian Netzler will join us. We'll talk about the volleyball program when we get into our middle segment. But we welcome you here to Uccello's in Caledonia. We're here Tuesday nights at 7. You get a chance to stop out, say hi, and enjoy the great food and service here at Uccello's in Caledonia. Devin Russell joins us right now, offensive coordinator on this team, and it's his second year heading up the program on the offensive side. Devin, let's assess the offense first of all. I mean, 27.5 points a game, 135 yards on the ground, 220 through the air so far. Good numbers, not quite what you were at this point last year, but maybe the competition a little stiffer?
Yeah, I think right now we're just focused on us. We're just trying to be a little more consistent. You know, we've had some times where we look very good, and then other times where we look very bad. In the last 2 games, we've gotten off to solid starts in the first quarter, and then when we kind of hit that second half, third quarter, we've kind of let our foot off the gas a little bit until we needed one, and then we've shown the ability to kind of bounce back. So, hopefully moving forward, what we're trying to do is just be a little more consistent and not wait for a big play to happen or someone to spark us and just get ourselves going.
Devin, we were talking a little bit before on the air because another big college, Division I college team was having the same problems. We're talking about coming out flat after halftime a little bit offensively. That's got to be a real challenge when you got things going for you like you've had in the first halves of the 2 games. You just soon bypass halftime and just keep right on playing.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. So we got to kind of figure it out. I think it's got to start with a better approach by myself, at halftime with the group and kind of maybe a little better job anticipating what could happen in the second half or sometimes it's the other way. You try to press too much and say, what are they going to do? What are we going to do? And sometimes it's about getting back to what was working for you early. So we've been trying to kind of assess those things throughout the bye week and into game week here.
You came to Davenport from a successful coaching career with Ohio Northern University offensive coordinator and offensive line coach, helped those teams get to the playoffs a number of times. What is your overall philosophy, Devin, as far as the offense attack? I mean, do you have a number in mind? I'd like to get this many yards. I'd like to get so much through the air, or a percentage, or what is your overall thoughts on it?
No, I mean, I think every offense in the country, you want to be balanced. The way we look at balance is being able to do well what an opponent struggles with. So, some weeks, if the numbers tell us you got to be able to run the ball, then maybe you run the ball 50 times that game. The next week, they're really loading the box, and maybe you're throwing it 50 times that week. And over the course of the year, being able to do well what opponents struggle with, to me, that's balance, not necessarily this many yards passing or this many yards rushing. It's just doing well what opponents maybe struggle with.
Speaking of running the football, you knew you had coming back Khalif Jenkins and Jair Harden, 2 very fine running backs, but you got a blessing. Myron Harris, the all-conference grad student transfer from Wayne State. Tell us what Myron has meant to the offensive side of the football for Davenport. Yeah,
Myron's done a great job coming in and just kind of blending in with the culture of the program and adding value in that standpoint, being one of the guys. He's an extremely hard worker, shows up every day and tries to do his thing. And then, obviously from a football standpoint, he's a dynamic player. And anytime you have an opportunity to call plays when you got dynamic football players, it makes life a lot easier on my end.
You weren't here before Jason Whitaker was the quarterback for Davenport, but you've heard the stories about how this team had so many issues at quarterback, and now you get a guy like that, a Division I transfer. Tell us about what he means on the field for your Panthers offense.
Yeah, he's a guy that can make all the throws, and what that does is that forces defenses to maybe cover a little deeper down the field than they want to, and that can open up things in the underneath passing game, in the run game, of course. And then, his intangibles as a leader, he's a captain of the team. All those things matter, especially at the quarterback position. And so, obviously, coming been with him made it a lot easier on my part. First time I saw him throw the ball, I figured we can probably do something with this. So that was good.
That brings up a point there. How often in your career have you seen this where you go into a season thinking this is kind of a direction we're going to go, then you see the individual talents maybe of somebody saying, you know what, we're going to veer off of that a little bit. Has that happened before?
Yeah, I think, every year you're trying to kind of get a feel of what you're going to be the best at, and then as those guys kind of develop through, preseason training camp and everything like that, it really starts to shift however the players need it to shift. And I think that's where it's important to have, all right, here's our philosophy, here's what we're trying to do, but at the end of the day, we want to try to score one more point than the other team. So if you need to change lanes a little bit, there's no problem doing that.
Can this offense this year be as good or better than last year's, or are you just not at that point willing to think about that?
I've never really compared offenses to previous years because there's no real. It doesn't matter, I guess.
Points on the score.
But I think we could, we have the talent and the players and to line up with anybody. It's just a matter of executing throughout a full game.
Devin, talk us about your philosophy as far as tempo goes, because tempo is such a big part of the game today at all levels.
Yeah, I think we want to be able to use tempo, however, is going to be advantageous for us. So if it's speeding things up or slowing things down, then that's what we want to be able to do. It doesn't necessarily. I always hate when I watch those games and a team's up by 2 scores and they're still snapping the ball with 30 seconds on the play clock because that's what they do. I've never been like that. Just I want to do whatever we need to do to win. And tempo is one of those things that can play a factor in that for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about why you got into the coaching profession, Devin. At what point of your life did you say, I think I'd like to do this as a profession?
Yeah, I kind of, I played at Ohio Northern back. It's getting farther and farther back in the day these days. But once I got done playing, it was pretty clear that the playing career was over. And, I'd been involved in football since 5th grade. And so I just went into the coaching side of it and just kind of bled right into it.
You and your wife have 2 daughters. Tell us about the adjustment of living in West Michigan, because that was a big uprooting for your entire family.
Yeah. We had my wife went to Ohio Northern as well, and we had lived in Ada since 2000.
That's Ada, Ohio.
Ada, Ohio. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we lived in Ada, Ohio since 2009, and then we moved up, and I would love to take credit for it, but I don't really do a lot with that. So my wife did a great job of just making that transition, from obviously switching jobs to buying a house to getting the house ready to the kids, are doing great in school. My wife loves her job, and that makes everything obviously a million times easier from a football side of things, and then obviously more importantly from a family side of things.
Psychologically, when the team makes the playoffs for the first time in school history last year, does that have a carryover, or do you think, that was last year, no carryover at all?
I think it helps, with confidence. I think the next time we're in a situation where we're facing some adversity, we can lean back on some of those lessons. At the same time, you can't get complacent and say, oh, we were good last year, this should work itself out, whether it's spring, winter, summer, anything like that. So I think it can be a benefit, but it has to be cautious, because at the end of the day, no one really cares what you did last year.
Devin, how involved are you on the recruiting side of things during the season and in the off season? Yeah,
I think our staff does a great job of how we divide things up and look at things, and we kind of know what we're looking for, and obviously Coach Spark points us in the right direction, and all of us as assistant coaches just try to go do our part with that.
What are your thoughts as far as the transfer portal is just a part of the game today?
Mm-hmm.
How much emphasis do you place on that, especially when you get somebody like a Jason Whitaker and a Myron Harris who walk onto your campus? Are you emphasizing that more than maybe you thought when you first heard about the portal?
Yeah, I think the transfer portal is great for the student athlete. It gives them options to get into a situation that maybe they feel is better for them for whatever reason. And so, we're not going to shy away away from it. At the end of the day, this is about young men finding the best situation for themselves and an opportunity to get a degree. So if we can help in that process, I think it's been great.
Well, we're lucky to have you here, Devin Russell, offensive coordinator. We look for big things from the offense again the rest of the way, and let's keep a great thing. Davenport is home this Saturday, 12 noon against William Jewell from Missouri. 12 noon kickoff. Get out there, cheer on the Panthers. We're going to take a timeout, come back, switch gears, talk a little volleyball here on the Davenport Coaches Show, coming to you live from Uccello's in Caledonia. This year in the fall, 4-6 overall, and finally got into conference play last weekend. Had to go up to the UP, which is always an adventure. Came away with a split up there, so they're 1-1 in conference play. Have not played a home match yet. We'll be doing that this weekend. Pleased to be joined by Brian Netzler, the head coach here at Davenport. And Brian, first let's talk a little bit about that schedule. You know, your teams often get in matches out of state and quite a ways away from home before you get a chance to get into conference play. You came away with 4-6. How did you assess the team's play this year in your non-conference portion?
Yeah, I mean, we started the season with the biggest test of all. We made the trek down to West Texas A&M University and played the defending national champs first weekend out of the gates. A good just kind of metric to kind of see where we were at. Finished 2-2 down there. I think we had some hiccups the second weekend. We were at a tournament at Grand Valley. Didn't play Grand Valley, but we played 4 other really solid schools, and we lost a heartbreaker to a team that was receiving votes in Clarion University out of Pennsylvania. We lost them 5 to them, and but I think we found out a lot about ourselves, and then we start conference play with the big annual UP trip. So there's so many different things that you got to take into consideration when you get up there, and we battled on the Friday night match against Northern and lost in 5, and then turned around and made the 2-hour trek up to Houghton and swept them the next day. And so I really like where we're at. I think we found out a lot about who we are as a team, and I'm excited to get the home slate going this weekend. Well,
3 of your 4 wins have been sweeps so far, so that's got to be encouraging, knowing that your team really can put it all together on all elements.
Sure, absolutely. I don't care however way they come. 3, 4, 5 sets, 6 sets. Whatever it takes. We'll just keep plugging away and getting better, and getting ourselves to where we need to be.
You should point out again that Davenport will be finally home this Friday against Lake Superior State, 6 o'clock at the DU Student Center, and then home against Saturday, the very next day, against Ferris State. That's a 5 o'clock start, right, Coach?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. Well, that's a great job. Let's talk about some of the players on this year's team and,
sure.
And how they provided what you've seen from them. So start with Lindsay Taylor.
Yeah, she's a all GLIAC performer from a year ago. She's a transfer from Miami last year. She's in her 5th year here with us, and I think we hope and pray that our kids really take care of their bodies over the summertime, because we don't have access to them with the lifting and conditioning and all that stuff. But I tell you what, she and my other 2 5th-year seniors, they were with our strength coach 3 days a week out here at Davenport, and I tell you what, she is physical as she's ever been. She's in the best shape she's ever been, and it shows with the way she's playing the game right now.
You mentioned she's a transfer. What are your thoughts? We asked Coach Russell about the philosophy on the transfer portal. What are your thoughts?
It's an interesting dynamic that you throw into the recruiting side of things. I think you never know what you're going to get, like the old Forrest Gump set in the old movie.
Box of chocolates.
Yep.
That's right.
But I would say, I think there's been a lot of good out of it for us. Lindsay and Lexi Beakey, who's our senior setter, both were transfers for us 2 years ago and have done a phenomenal job. We've got another transfer this year in Caitlin Jordan, a sophomore middle transfer for us, who has played some significant minutes for us. And so, I think it's a necessity. You got to work with it, but it's not our end all be all with how we want to recruit.
We've got some nice GLIAC recognition with Stephanie Kalinowski.
Yeah, two weeks in a row now she's won Defensive Player of the Week. She's another transfer for us. She transferred in 4 years ago from Wisconsin Platteville and has been a regular for us on the floor. Her role has definitely increased this year as our starting libero, and I tell you what, she's another kid that just took it in stride all summer long and put the work in, and she's reaping the benefits from it right now.
All right, Brian, I'm going to need you to educate me here. Starting libero.
Libero.
What does
That's
that
the person that wears the other colored jersey. She's a back row defender for us.
Okay, all right.
Think of her as like the linebacker on the football team.
All right, now I can relate.
Yeah.
Thank you for educating me. Emmy Webb, also, 5th season with the Panthers, a big part of your program.
Yeah, Emmy's been here since I've been here. It's crazy to think that that's a half a decade already, but I absolutely adore her. Her leadership has been absolutely incredible. She's someone that had a torn ACL 2 years ago and kind of was a shell of herself a little bit last year as she came back, and needed to get healthy, and has really taken it all summer long and into this preseason. She is by far our captain, our leader, on the floor, off the floor. We talk about being a thermostat or a thermometer. We want thermostats that are going to change the temperature in the room. She is that kid for us.
One of your top newcomers, Sydney Swan, a freshman from Indiana, is really already showing a lot.
Yeah. Sid was late into the recruiting game for us. We had her on a visit last spring, so it was May of last year when she committed. Didn't necessarily know what we were going to get, from the beginning with her. We knew she was a pretty physical kid and had some great IQ for the game, and she's just really came into her own so far this season.
You mentioned the recruiting. How have your recruiting philosophies changed, or have they not changed at all since you started the job here at Davenport?
I don't think it's changed. I think we shoot for the stars every year. We're looking for the right fit, though. I think that's the number one thing for us is, culture is a huge piece to what we do, and chemistry is a huge piece. And so, you might be able to, bang some volleyballs and, dig some balls and block some balls, but, can you really fit into what we're doing culture-wise? And I think we've got a great mix right now.
You mentioned that culture and fitting in. I would imagine your opening non-conference slate, when you go out of state, when you go to Texas, and then when you go up to the UP, a lot of that culture is developed off the court, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've done a lot of stuff. Actually, Coach McEwen, he takes the guys up to Little Pine Island every single year for a preseason trip, and I was picking his brain a little bit about it. We actually took the volleyball team up there this year, and so team building, team bonding, it's huge. Those weekends on the road, while they are long and tedious, there's so much good that can come from those.
Tell us a little about some of the actual activities that your players did and what they learned from that Little Pine Island experience.
We worked with this guy named Curtis. He's been there for 30 plus years. I thought he was actually living out in the woods when we got there, but no, he's got a house right on the grounds there. But just a lot of stuff, just working on our accountability, our vulnerability, just being able to speak with one another and be genuine about what we're saying to one another. And I think it's fun as a coach. You get to sit back and kind of watch someone else lead your team and see where those leaders might evolve. And you might see something that you didn't see before. And I definitely saw some out of some of our group this time around.
Well, Brian, again, you're into conference play. You got to split up in the UP, which ain't all bad when you go up to North to play Tech and Northern. So now you're home against Lake State Friday again at 6 o'clock, and then Saturday against Fair State at 5 o'clock. Should be some exciting matches.
Yeah, Absolutely. We've got, Stephanie Kalinowski, our libero, her sister's the setter at Lake State, who is also setter of the week this week in the GLIAC. So we've dubbed it the Kalinowski Bowl. So.
All right, it should be great. Great to see that. Hey, Brian, thanks for stopping by. I know you're enjoying some of that good Uccello's food. We'll get you back to that, and then we'll come back and talk some more football.
Sounds good. Thanks, Rick.
All right, we'll take a time out, come back and talk with A.J. McEwen, defensive coordinator for your Davenport Panthers, as we continue with the Davenport Coaches Show live from Uccello's in Caledonia. Check one. You got me?
Yep,
All right.
I got you.
Okay. And we continue our final segment of the Davenport Coaches Show live from Uccello's in Caledonia. Certainly enjoyed visiting with Brian Netzler, volleyball coach, and Devin Russell, offensive coordinator. We're going to go back to football. We're going to switch sides of the football. Literally, defensive coordinator A.J. McEwen joins us right now. 6 years defensive coordinator. And A.J., you were here before Sparky, right? You were coaching when we first started the program.
Yes, I actually was here back since 2015 when Coach Esposito was here. So that's when I got my start as a graduate assistant.
So you were there the year before we started playing games?
Yeah, so in 2015 when we got going, we didn't have a full-size roster, but the entire year we just practiced the entire year, and we had a few scrimmages.
I remember talking with Coach Esposito. How did you keep the guys focused when they knew usually the guy's reward is playing the game at the end of the week? You didn't have that reward waiting for them. How did you keep them focused and energetic?
The biggest thing was just trying to keep them engaged by having scrimmages. That really was the biggest thing you could do. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all. 4 or 5 weeks through, guys were kind of getting tired of doing the same thing over and over, but we did the best we could.
Well, you've provided some excellent defenses through the years here with Davenport. You have 5 consecutive years in the top 10 in the nation in pass defense as well. I know you take a lot of pride in that, and you got some ball hawks back there this year with 6 interceptions already in 2 games.
Yeah, so far we're doing a pretty decent job. Coming into this year, I had some concerns, because last year we lost 5 starters on the back end, so we had to go out, and recruit some new guys, through the transfer portal and even by grooming our own guys from the high school ranks. And, this year so far, like you said, they've been ball hawks.
I would think one of the things that's most satisfying to you and your fellow defensive coaches is that 6 interceptions by 6 different guys.
Yeah, that's been huge for us. And to be honest, I think we left a few out there still that we could have had a few more picks. So, hopefully we can keep this thing rolling. And that's been a big emphasis for us this year during practice is trying to force turnovers.
You had a fine playing career at Ferris State where you played under Tony Anise. And, of course, Sparky, your father, was also assistant coach at Ferris State at that time. Tell us about your Ferris days, not so much as a player, but how that influenced you to decide to go into coaching.
Yeah, while I was there as a player, I kind of already had it in my mind that I wanted to be a coach one day, especially towards, the end of my career, my junior, senior year. I pretty much knew I wanted to get into coaching at some point once my playing career was over. And, after I was done playing in the AFL, Coach Esposito, that's when he reached out to me because I actually met Coach Espo at Ferris State. My junior year, I played for him when I got switched over to defense, and he was a defensive coordinator. So that's kind of how our relationship got started, and that's when we ended up linking back up when I finished playing.
Of course, everybody, you get injuries throughout the season. How do you keep that next man up mentality going with your guys? Because it's a physical game, and guys are going to get hurt along the line. Yeah,
you just got to try to keep guys locked in, like you said. And, in the past, we've had numerous guys who maybe didn't play early in the season, but through injuries later on in the year, guys ended up stepping up and having to start. So I just try to use those examples for some of the younger guys early on in the year to try to keep them engaged.
Your defense is a +8 with the 6 interceptions and 2 fumbles, +8 on the season. Is that realistic to think you can continue that kind of domination in that category?
Well, I hope so. Like I said, that's been an emphasis this year is really just turnovers and just playing hard, and playing with a certain tenacity. And I think so far this year we've been doing a solid job. We still got a number of things to clean up, and that's what we tried to use the bye week for this past week.
That was led in my next question. Did you think the bye week was a good week for you, or would you rather had it maybe a few weeks later?
It depends on how you look at it, to be honest. For the time it was, I think it was good because on defense, I'll speak for the defense. We have a lot of new guys, so those first 2 games, I thought we played solid, but we still made a lot of mistakes that we needed to clean up. So I do think it came at a good time.
I asked Coach Russell about getting the gift of a player like Myron Harris transferring in. You had a similar thing to your defense. Linebacker Julius Wilkerson, who was the defensive GLIAC Player of the Week last week in our last game, he's a grad student, also transferred over from Wayne State. Tell us about what he's meant to your defense.
He's been everything for us. He's our quarterback on defense, and overall he's just a great kid. Not only is he a great player, but he's a great kid. Comes to work every single day. I never have to question or wonder if he's going to show up and do his job, and he's been everything for us.
He's one of your leaders. Give us 1 or 2 other leaders on your defense, AJ.
Another guy is Austin Allward. He's a guy that's been here for a number of years. He's been in the program since about 2016, 2017. So he's a guy that we really look to for leadership. And another guy, too, is Nick Kane. Nick Kane is one of our starting safeties. And, he played significant reps last year for us. He wasn't a starter, but he still played a lot for us last year and had a huge impact.
Nick's one of those guys with an interception. You had some memorable interceptions, one in particular last game.
Right. Yeah, well, we really had, it was 2 or 3 incredible interceptions.
One incredible performance, one incredibly dramatic, too.
Right. Yeah, you had the one-hand interception by Ty Martin. And then you had the pick by our defensive lineman,
Chris,
Darius Lanham, and then Chris.
Chris had the game clincher.
Yep, Chris had the game clincher. Just an incredible play by him.
How good can your defense be this year, do you think, compared to what you've seen in previous years?
I don't know. It's to be seen. Like I said, we still have a lot to clean up. I like the pieces we have to work with. I will say that. I like the pieces we have. I think we have a hungry group, a gritty group, and that's all you can ask for.
Got to have the right ingredients to make a good cake, right?
Absolutely.
You got something. You're making a good cake over there. Finally, AJ, tell us a little bit about your interests off football. What do you do for your own personal enjoyment away from the game of football?
Well, during the season,
you don't have that option.
Nah, not really. I'm a sports guy. I love sports through and through. College football, NFL, and then I'm a huge boxing fan, a huge NBA fan as well. And then I'm also really into music too as well. I'm a simple guy. I don't get into a lot of extra activities, but sports is everything to me.
Well, AJ McEwen, defensive coordinator, boy, we're certainly glad to have you here. Your defense is coming on once again with a +8 in the turnover margin, and I know you're going to have your work cut out this week with Ward, the quarterback from William Jewell. He's a good one.
Absolutely. Yeah, they actually have 2 quarterbacks. This year he's taken most of the snaps, but last year, if you go back, they have another quarterback too as well, and he can play. Last year they put up a lot of points on offense, and they returned most of those guys. So we definitely have our work cut out. They have a really good receiver with the kid number 18, and they have a dynamic running back too as well. He can run between the tackles, and he can catch the ball out the backfield. So we have our work cut out.
All right, well, you can watch that. Hopefully you can get out there, cheer the Panthers on this Saturday, 12 noon kickoff against William Jewell. Get out there. If you can't catch our video broadcast on Flow Sports, if you can't catch that, you got to always have our radio feed on our radio partner 96.1 The Game in Grand Rapids. That'll wrap it up here for our Davenport Coaches Show. We'll be back here next Tuesday to review the William Jewell game and look ahead to the conference opener a week from Saturday up at Michigan Tech. Thank our special guests, Devin Russell and A.J. McEwen from the football side, Brian Netzler from the volleyball. That'll conclude it here, so don't forget to join us again next Tuesday at Uccello's of Caledonia. So till next time, Rick Berkey saying, go Panthers.